1st, it is Thursday. We are crawling our way through the week. I'm Jenna Wolf. That is the Hall of Famer Chris Carter. That is Nick Wright. What
defines crawling your way through the week?
It just feels like it's been a long week because next week is the holiday. We're a week.
I feel like the week is flying by.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a negative thing.
No, I'm running.
I love every day. I want every day to last long. Woo! Okay,
I'm
here we
wiped
go.
out.
In Jenna's defense, it's rare for her to make it to Thursday without having a sick day off, so I understand why this one
that was not in my
has
defense.
taken it's felt longer for her than usual.
That is just not right. We got a big show today. The Warriors lost again last night. Three-time heavyweight champ Lennox Lewis will sit right there. He'll join us in studio in less than an hour, but we start with a little NFL football. 2 weeks left in the NFL's regular season, and for some, a chance to make a final playoff push. The Dallas Cowboys have already made the push, now looking to clinch a win over Tampa Bay, and they win the NFC East. Cowboys host the Bucs on Sunday. This Cowboys team 6-1 at home this season, while just 2-5 on the road. Ezekiel Elliott spoke about the team's approach to Sunday's game.
Approaching this game like we've approached, the past six, back against the wall is a must-win for us. We got to do whatever we can to go out there and secure that NFC East division title. And we just got to know that nothing's gonna be given to us. We got to go out there and take everything. So we just got to have that mindset going into this Sunday, so we can come out there winning.
All right, CC, we saw one Cowboys team last week and then one the 5 weeks prior. Which team do you expect to see Sunday against Tampa Bay?
I expect them to get back on track. I expect them to get off to a fast start. This is a Tampa Bay team that you can't take for granted. I think that the Saints will give the Cowboys a healthy example of the type of talent that Tampa Bay and the type of players that they have, the big plays that they can make. So the Cowboys, I believe that they'll approach this game the right way. We can't expect a young football team. We bragged about their defense. We bragged about their ages. We always talk about Dak and Zeke and how young they are now. Amari Cooper, another guy under 25. So, man, their core group of guys is a very, very young group. We can't expect them to not have one hiccup in a 6-week stretch. I mean, they were playing some tremendous football. This team has come a long way. This is not a team you would like to be able to face in the playoffs because of their ability to be able to run the ball the way they are. And I believe that their defense will show up when it's time for them to show up in the playoffs. So what they have to do, create some turnovers. This defense get after Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, one of the worst in the league as far as turnover differential. At the bottom right there, 31st in the league. So with 32 giveaways that they've had this year, Dallas should be looking for those opportunities to create extra possessions for Zeke and Dak and to make the field shorter. So in a game like this, jump right on top of them from the beginning. Guys begin to question. You mentioned the holidays. You think these athletes ain't thinking about the holidays? These are some of the most hectic weeks. So watch the lines as far as Vegas, and then you're going to watch on Sunday and wonder, man, certain teams are going to play like a half of football. And if the game is not competitive,
and be done with it.
They're gonna start worrying about their knees. Worrying, I don't want to get a surgery this offseason. So I believe the Dallas Cowboys, that's what they should do to Tampa Bay. Create some turnovers early on a short field. I believe that leads them to a big win at home.
This game will determine to me whether or not last week was a hiccup or not. I think it was. I'm going into the week. I said this letdown game for Dallas. Indy needs it. All of that. So I agree with nearly everything Chris said. Unless Dallas has a bad performance this week, in which case you will start to say, hold on a second. Was the aberration more the winning streak rather than the letdown against Indy? Because if I'm going to take Dallas as seriously as Jerry Jones wants them taken as a playoff contender, then they dominate the Tampa Bay Bucs. Then this is a game at home to clinch the division, that they run it down their throats and they make big plays in the passing game. This Tampa defense is turning the average opposing running back into Adrian Peterson, prime Adrian Peterson. They've already allowed 1,800 rushing yards this year at nearly 5 yards per carry, and they're allowing the opposing quarterback into prime Drew Brees, allowing 72% completions and a 111 passer rating. So that's over the course of the season. So if Dallas is a legitimate playoff threat, which I think when they play their best they can be, this is a game that Tampa Bay is thinking about the offseason at halftime, because this is a game Dallas is up 14-3 at halftime. There are different ways to win, different ways to lose. We'd feel differently, a little bit differently about Dallas this week if they had lost 23-20 to Indy. And so there's different ways to win, even in a division clinching scenario.
I wouldn't feel any different, because I know you can have a mental lapse. I realize how good these NFL teams, and I don't think that there's not a team out there right now. The Saints are sputtering offensively. They play Pittsburgh. We're not drawing pictures as far as the Saints are concerned. Now, the Saints, do they have to blow out Pittsburgh? Or why should we have Dallas under some different scale? These NFL games typically are always very, very competitive. What I'm saying is, we can't judge them if this is a close game that they weren't ready. It's a matter of winning and losing. Now, you would like to be able to see some margin, but the way Tampa Bay has played, the best team in the NFC would show you can't take Tampa Bay lightly. They beat New Orleans the first game of the season, and they were in a dogfight a couple weeks ago. So I think that we have to be careful and make sure we judge Dallas just like we judge the other teams trending towards the playoffs.
And I am trying to judge them that way. And if Tampa puts up a bunch of points, I'm not going to necessarily hold that against the Cowboys, even because this is a team that has shown it can score. But if you can't move the ball consistently against this defense, then when you're talking about a playoff game against...
It would show problems as far as that offensive line going forward. Yes, it would show some other symptoms that will be played out in the playoffs.
That's the point I'm making. So maybe I shouldn't point out that they need to win by multiple scores, but they need to have an efficient, high-powered offense.
Yes,
because
I agree with you.
This is by far the worst defense they're going to play the rest of the way. And every defense that's going to make the playoffs in the NFC is a good defense outside of maybe the Rams. Like, I know we have questions about them. The Bears are great. The Vikings have the ability to be great. Seattle's been very consistent. We've talked about the Saints all of a sudden the last month of football, how good their defense has been. So I need to see some punch out of the Cowboys offense in this game.
But keep in mind, there still won't be a healthy offensive line that Dallas is going to take into the game on Sunday. There's still questionable parts to it. So, yes, you do have Tampa Bay's defense, which you get to face, but you're still going to struggle with how to find a way to both run the ball and pass the ball with a shaky offensive line.
I believe the passing attack should really thrive. Yes. Tampa Bay, regardless of who's on the line, Tampa Bay is not... No NFL team wants to get run on. That's the most humiliating way. It's more of a macho thing. They would much rather you throw the ball for 500 yards than for you to rush for 200. So Tampa Bay, we'll have 7. We'll have 8 in the box. Like, for me, when I game plan, I'm not going into the game saying we're going to run the ball to force them. I'm going out there knowing they're going to have 7, 8 in the box, and I'm throwing the ball, and I'm throwing it deep on play action early in the game to be able to loosen that defense up. And then I'm going to start coming back where Nick talks about and start getting that 5 yards a carry. But I believe that offense, it starts with the passing game, with Amari Cooper. I'm challenging that defense, and I'm challenging them deep.
One guy to watch, you mentioned the Cowboys offensive line. On the other side of the offensive line, Jason Pierre-Paul. He obviously made his whole name and career in this division against the Dallas Cowboys. He's now with Tampa. He's got 13.5 sacks this year. He's been very good for them. He knows the tendencies of these Cowboys offensive linemen, and he's going to be lined up next to one of the best players in the league that we don't talk about, Gerald McCoy, the D tackle. This Tampa defense has not been good. Those two guys have been good. It's the 9 players surrounding them who haven't necessarily always held up their end of the bargain. If Tampa is going to make this a dogfight, yes, they're going to score points, but I also would imagine, we talk about Dak being sacked 51 times, second most in football. Talk about Dak, the strip sacks. Jason Pierre-Paul coming around the corner. If Dak's holding on to the ball too long, that could be a game-changing play.
Gerald McCoy, also one of the funnier guys in the NFL. Thank you, Hard Knocks. Let's take a break. Coming up, how can the Seahawks slow down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Hear from Pete Carroll next on First Things First.